Most human interactions are governed by a specific set of mechanics that operate just below the surface of a conversation. It influences business deals, shapes political movements, and even basic friendships, yet it often goes unnoticed. Niccolò Machiavelli spent his life documenting these mechanics, writing from the midst of falling kingdoms 500 years ago. He focused on a singular observation: why some individuals successfully direct the course of events, while others are merely swept along by them. His findings were not designed to be comfortable. They were descriptions of a reality where awareness provides a distinct advantage. However, this level of psychological insight can slowly distance a person from the very people they are trying to understand. To understand this dynamic, we have to look at two things: how the most effective minds operate, and the specific psychological patterns that eventually lead to their own decline. Consider two people caught in a sudden crisis. One is paralyzed by the situation, while the other remains focused. The difference is not a matter of raw intelligence, but of how they perceive the environment. Machiavelli noted that people rarely react to objective facts. Instead, they react to their interpretation of those facts. This means that in any struggle for influence, the person who defines the interpretation effectively determines the outcome. This is why movements and organizations are built on narratives rather than just data. People do not follow a leader because of a list of credentials. They follow the story that leader tells about the future. It is an observation that contradicts the idea that the world is inherently fair or that merit is always recognized. History shows that those who ignore the psychological component of reality are often outmaneuvered by those who prioritize it. Understanding these patterns of human nature is not a prerequisite for being a manipulator. It is a tool for seeing the world as it actually is, rather than how we wish it to be. Most people focus on trying to look capable or intelligent to their peers. Those who actually hold influence, however, prioritize understanding the specific incentives that drive the people around them. They look for the gaps between what people say and what they do. People often claim to value transparency, yet they frequently defer to someone who displays unshakable confidence, even when that confidence is misplaced. Once you begin looking for these contradictions, human behavior becomes more predictable. You stop listening to rhetoric and start analyzing actions. This creates a specific risk. When you treat everyone as a data point in a pattern, you begin to lose the ability to connect with them as individuals. The more you analyze, the more isolated you become from those you are attempting to lead. This is where influence fails. Manipulation might gain short-term agreement, but it cannot produce the loyalty required for long-term stability. That requires empathy, which is difficult to maintain when you are viewing the world purely as a system of incentives. At the center of this system is a single psychological constant. Humans are far more motivated by the possibility of loss than the prospect of gain. This chart shows the disparity. The psychological impact of losing $100 is nearly twice as intense as gaining it. This imbalance drives irrational behavior, explaining why entire markets collapse into panic based on single negative news. A manipulator uses this fear to make others dependent on them for security. A leader manages this fear within themselves and their team to maintain stability when others panic. Because power acts as an amplifier, it reveals which of these paths a person will take. It does not change someone's character. It just provides a larger stage for their existing insecurities or their wisdom to manifest. As a person gains influence and sees patterns others miss, a subtle psychological shift often occurs. They begin to believe that their success is a result of an inherent superiority rather than a specific set of observations. This leads to a loss of patience. They become frustrated by mistakes, stop listening to outside perspectives, eventually developing a sense of contempt for those they consider less aware. Contempt is the beginning of the end for any leader because it kills curiosity. Once you believe you have all the answers, you stop looking. The foundation of your success begins to crack before you even realize it. This process is accelerated by the feedback vacuum. When someone becomes powerful, the people around them often stop telling the truth out of fear. Without that friction, without someone to point out errors or offer a different view, blind spots grow. Eventually, the gap between perception and reality becomes so wide that a total collapse becomes inevitable. Machiavelli is often used as a shorthand for cruelty, but he was simply documenting the descriptive reality of how systems of power function. He was not prescribing how the world should be, he was showing how it actually worked. Understanding how people are influenced is a neutral form of knowledge. Like any tool, its value is determined by the intent of the person using it. A surgeon and a criminal both use a blade. The difference is the purpose behind the action. Some of the most influential figures in history avoided the trap of superiority by remaining perpetually curious. Leonardo da Vinci's manuscripts show a man who never stopped questioning his own assumptions, even at the height of his fame. Others, like Abraham Lincoln, actively fought the feedback vacuum. He filled his cabinet with rivals who frequently disagreed with him, ensuring that his decisions were tested against the harshest possible criticism before they were enacted. These leaders understood that accuracy is the only way to maintain influence long-term, and you cannot be accurate if you are too arrogant to accept a correction. This is the critical turning point. Influence over others is fragile if you cannot exert control over your own ego and your own fear of loss. Without this internal control, power becomes a path to self-destruction. The same tools used to build an organization or a movement will eventually be used to tear it down from the inside. To maintain lasting influence, you must master the mechanics of human nature while simultaneously holding on to your own empathy. It is much harder to discipline your own mind than it is to learn the psychological triggers of others. This is why many people become intelligent, but very few remain effective over a lifetime. Ultimately, the ability to direct the course of events starts with the ability to direct yourself. The person who can resist the feedback vacuum and the illusion of superiority is the only one who can keep their influence from turning into a monster.